All right, what's going on, guys? My name is Noah Amazon. I'm joined with Angel in today's episode number 1 of Forbidden Radio. Our two other hosts today are Armani and Eric. They are the two founders and our bosses here at Forbidden Radio. What's going on, guys?
Boss.
Hello.
I don't know, it's we're just first episode of Forbidden Radio. Looking sounding nice.
Good
So-
to have
Yeah,
you
we're-
guys.
So Forbidden
I'm
Radio
excited.
is
I'm
basically-
excited
oh,
to be here.
Damn it, we're
I'm
already
excited
talking
to
over
be
each
here.
other.
Should we start over?
No, we're good. No, we'll keep this. All right, we'll keep this. It means we're human. All right. So, Forbidden
Yeah.
Radio is essentially just like it's a podcast for Forbidden Origins. We're gonna talk about ourselves, talk about like things that we're doing in the company, and then like later on, as the podcast goes on, we'll be implementing pop culture, talking about things happening in our like zeitgeist. But today we're just gonna talk about ourselves, talk about how we got into writing, talk about how we came together as a team, and so you guys can get to know at least some of us better. Over time, we will have more writers on with us, but yeah, for right now, it's just the four of us. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for starting this, guys. I will say this was Noah and Angel's original idea, so we're really excited to start it and have it grow. Yeah, you call us the bosses. I wouldn't call us the bosses. Me and Armani, we founded the company, but I see us more as a team. But if you want to call me the boss, that's okay.
I think that's a great way of looking at it. I do kind of still see you guys as bosses, but yeah, I guess it does really seem more like a team than anything.
Yeah, that's like the whole point, right? Of all of us just collaborating together, throwing out ideas, seeing what sticks, and hoping for the best. We're all creatives, but like Eric said, if you want to call me the boss, I don't mind. Call me the Godfather. I like that. I'm a Godfather.
Call me or Armani the Allfather
Ooh.
character in the old universe.
All right, and that's when the podcast ends. Time to end it.
Wow, what a
kidding.
great outro.
But yeah, no, like this
We
is
gotta
fun.
plug our
I mean,
lore
who
in.
would have thought like we would have a podcast from what started off as like a book publishing company. We started this company just starting writing books, and now we're writing comics and short stories, and now we're doing a podcast. So Angel and Noah, I'm excited to see what you guys bring out and what your episodes look like going from here. Let's get into it.
Thank you. And you're saying this was mine and Noah's idea? This was Noah's idea. I agreed to be a host, but this is all Noah.
I know
Oh,
someone brought
okay.
up doing a podcast, and I said, "Hey, fuck it, let's do it." And then now you're putting it on me. Okay, all right.
Oh, well,
I
you
think
were the
it
one
was-
that agreed first, and then I was like, sure, I'll host it with you because,
so I called your
this
bluff.
does seem like something.
I called your bluff.
You didn't call my bluff. It was more like you're the one that agreed first, and I was like, yeah, I'm down to host it with you.
You guys are a perfect
Right.
duo. This is this is the chemistry I want to listen to.
Yeah, I want to hear you guys just bicker and argue about like certain lore of Forbidden Origins and like pop
Trivial
culture
bullshit.
shit. I want to hear you guys. Yeah, I want to hear you guys like go off. But
For a
this is the
future
first episode, so
Oh.
what happened?
For a future episode, though,
What are
I'm
you
going to
saying?
say real quick, I would really want to have another debate with Armani about Zack Snyder, but that's for down the road. So
Oh
yeah, we'll
that'll
have
be
like
cool.
once we hit like 100 subs on the RSS feed for Forbidden Radio, we'll have like a live showdown over Zack Snyder. We'll try to bring him on.
What is RSS feed? I'm looking at this right now on my screen, the Forbidden Radio like homepage, but I don't know what that is.
I'll let Eric explain what RSS feed is. He's better at that than me.
Yeah. Wow. First episode, we're gonna tell everyone what a podcast works. But this is good, like for people wondering, like for podcasts, because we did this research ourselves. When we were doing this. RSS feed is basically like it's just a website where you host your podcast. Like an example would be like this is a hilarious example I'm thinking right now, but like a Tumblr page and where you post your stuff on Tumblr. It's kind of like the same thing as like your feed. But RSS feeds are cool because they host the actual, like when you record your podcast, it hosts the actual audio file. And then if you want to on Apple or Spotify or any sort of like, music or media where you want to listen to it, this is mostly for audio. YouTube is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
When you go to Spotify and when you want to put your podcast, they'll ask, okay, what's your RSS feed link? And you give them the link and then it'll populate on Spotify. And then same thing for Apple. So yeah.
Okay.
So RSS is like the
Basically
main,
plug.
it's like the main feed for all the audio channels. And then for video, when we have our video releasing, of the podcast. It's, YouTube.
Okay, that's cool. I'd never heard of that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. See, listeners.
So our humble host, Noah and Angel, what do you guys want to dive into today?
What compelled you to start Forbidden Origins?
Oh, jeez.
What was the inciting incident?
Oh, God. What was the exposition, the inciting incident, the rising action, the climax? Eric, what do you think was the inciting
I'm just
incident?
handing it off to Eric.
Well, is
Yeah,
it what started Forbidden Origins, or what started, the first, I guess the first story and saga of Forbidden Origins, which is the old universe? Like, no, are you interested in more of how the company started or how the story started? Because just for anyone who doesn't know and who's listening about Forbidden Origins, we're a self-publishing book company, but we're also getting into graphic novels, media, everything. But the first thing, as of this episode, that's out right now is our sci-fi epic fantasy series, The Old Universe, and that is kind of the first story that like brought this all together. So, Noah, are you asking more of how the story started or how the company started?
The company.
Okay. I'll start, and then Armani, if you want to add to it. Basically, so we've already had the old universe as a story. We've always talked about it. We've always had it created way before the company started, just like for fun. Like we just created the story one day, and we really got into it. It was back in like middle school, and then we kind of just always added to it, even in high school, even in college, just like fun ideas. And then as we gotten older, we we might have not added to it as much as we were older, but we always mentioned it, like, wow, this could really be something. This could really be something. Like we should, I don't know, maybe take a look at it. And then COVID hit, as everyone knows. And I don't know anyone here who wouldn't have been affected by COVID. And we could do COVID stories later if that's a fun thing. But anyways, when COVID hit, you have a lot of time to yourself, and me and Armani, we were always talking. We're like, let's actually just write it. Let's do it. We have this time, and also since we were older and had more money, is just like growing up with Armani always says it's quote unquote adult jobs, adult money. So funny. We did it, and we just started writing and collaborating and like looking it over and starting the first story of the old universe. And then we also decided, let's just publish it ourselves. It gives us the freedom to do what we want and bring the stories that we want to tell and not have to wait on anybody. And I'm not harping against self-published or not self-published.
Traditional.
What's it called? Traditional published, yes. Because that's a great avenue too. Obviously, that's great. If you can get traditionally published, but we didn't want to wait. We wanted to say like our time is now, and we really got into that. So basically, we're self-published right now of our first book, and that's kind of the gist of it. Armani, if you want to add anything about the formation of Forbidden Origins.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up coming up with stories and ideas, making short films. So we've always had this idea of doing things ourselves. And when we finished writing the first book back in 2020, I want to say, we started going into, online resources, trying to find a publisher and agent. And before we sent the first email, before we sent any emails out to any publishers or agents, we sat down with each other and like, is this the way we want to go? Do we want to give creative control over of our story to someone who doesn't understand it as well as we do? Do we want to allow someone to come in and make changes and tell us how Corin needs to be, how the Allfather needs to be? So once we really decided that we wanted to have total control over the stories we tell, that's where Forbidden Origins came from. We said we had like different ideas for the names first. I have a note somewhere on my phone on my notes app with the first like ideas we had for the company name.
Yeah, that was fun.
But the Forbidden Origins was birthed from kind of the lore of the old universe. It's about a universe before ours. It's about spears creating the universe. It's about these powerful beings. And if you look at the Forbidden Origins logo, it's the O in Origins is a sun, and we felt like a sun would be perfect because everything that's on Earth only comes alive because of the sun. Like if there wasn't a sun in our universe, everything would be dead. And that's kind of like the basis of our the stories we're telling. They're all original. They all have these ideas of life and death. They all have these ideas of brotherhood and fatherhood and love and family, and all that comes from life. All that comes from your. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Um,
No, I like it.
Beautifully put.
I have no idea what I'm saying anymore. But what I really want to say is that Forbidden Origins came from the idea of Eric and I just being friends and having this passion to tell stories. And without that, there wouldn't be a company today. I mean, a lot of people like to um, come up with stories and come up with ideas and just throw them out there and see if they stick. And that is something that Eric and I just did. We had these ideas and these stories and we put them together, and that was the birth of Forbidden Origins. And it wouldn't be what it is now without you guys. Because look, you guys have a podcast now. You guys are expanding this company in ways where Eric and I didn't dream of. We just wanted to write books. We just
Yeah.
wanted to write books and create stories for people to enjoy. Now there's a podcast. So
Well, we're
that
your
was the
guys'
basis of it.
legacy. We wouldn't have even met if it wasn't for you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like the company's only we're in 2024. The company is only 3 years old, and I feel like Eric and I, and then you guys and all the other writers that are part of the team, we accomplished so much. And the company's been a company for 3 years, and we've only known you guys for what, like 9 months,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, less than a year.
Yeah, less than a year, and we've already
Hasn't even been a
accomplished
full
so much
year.
together. So it's gonna be very interesting to see where the company goes. Well, but what I was trying to get at with the logo is that the sun and the O. Um, I don't know. I don't know exactly how we came up with that, but I knew we came up with the idea of wanting Forbidden Origins to be something more than just a publishing company, where when you look at it, you feel attached to it. Just how when you look at the sun in real life, you get like a glow. You get like you feel alive. When you're inside all day, or if you're working a job all day and you finally go outside and you feel the sun for the first time, you feel something, and it makes you feel like you're a part of the world. It makes you feel like you're a part of the earth. It makes you feel alive. That's why we added that into the logo. So when you read our stories, when you hear this podcast, when you read the stories that Angel's putting on, the stories that Noah's putting on, you feel something. Yeah, Forbidden Origins. Um, buy our book.
I love that. Yes, the old universe out now on Amazon and TikTok Shop.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Hey, put in the plug-in. Yeah, you plugging that shit in. And what else?
Yeah.
Hey, but Angel, what else? What else is coming out this month, and this year?
Coming out this month, Echoes of the Old Universe, also on Amazon and TikTok
Hey.
Shop.
yes.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Echoes. What do you guys got to say about Echoes? Because that's your guys' creation.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Give some details on Echoes for people who don't know what that is.
Go ahead, Angel.
Okay. Echoes is a collection of short stories that a lot of us authors under the Forbidden Origins company wrote together. We each wrote a couple stories, compiled it into a book, and we're going to be putting it out later this month. I'm really excited. And all the stories take place within the old universe, within the same universe as their first book, Eric and Armani's first book. So we're kind of expanding on that same lore and universe. So I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see if people like it.
I think they will. There's different tones. It all takes place during the initial stages of the war that breaks out in the first book. I guess spoilers.
Yeah.
Um, but there's gonna be different aspects of that. If anyone listening's ever read Halo Evolutions or the other Halo short story books, it's same concept. It's all of it is about the war, but from different angles of the war. So it's not just
Yeah.
battles. It's families being torn apart. It's siblings looking out for each other in the middle of a war zone. And honestly, sadly
Mhm.
enough, it's very reflective of what's happening today. So
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
that's another
That was
thing
good.
too. A lot of the stories can be like a mirror or a reflection of everyday life.
mhm,
Even though it's
Yep.
a sci-fi fantasy, there's a lot of themes in there that people can relate to.
mhm,
And I think that's the best part of any good story.
exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
When you
Yeah,
could
I
find
like it. I
yourself in
think
those pages.
Mhm.
I think we mentioned that before, right? I think it was like along the lines of like Transformers, and how Transformers uses a lot of like historical aspects in their movies. I love when fictional stories have some sort of bridge to like the real world,
Mhm.
whether it be um, subliminal themes or whether it be like right in your face, like, oh, the pyramids, no, that was built by a giant robot. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
Like clear the
I like
Yeah,
path.
that.
the implementation in Transformers is so crazy. It just got crazier each movie. Like, what was it? The fourth one where like they're the ones that made the dinosaurs extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was Transformers. Like, oh my god, it was all Transformers. It's crazy. Yeah, didn't like
Yeah.
JFK get assassinated by like a Decepticon?
Yes. A little one.
That was
I like
yeah.
the
The
part where they
Decepticons
built the
killed
Hoover
JFK.
Dam to hold Megatron.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
Or
I
Bumblebee
love
fighting
it.
Nazis.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
That
He was
was
fighting Nazis, Bumblebee.
that got a little crazy because it's like, okay, you have a giant robot fighting in World War II. But how they would have that would have been a thing. Like they never talk about that again unless he was like I don't know. Maybe there's secret hidden freedom fighters in World War II we don't know about, like werewolves.
You know what?
Oh.
Incredibly unrealistic, but incredibly based. I gotta say,
Yep.
Yeah,
killing Nazis never gets
American
old.
werewolf, American werewolf in Vietnam.
Hey,
Exactly.
we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. Let's set up
We'll get
let's set
into
up you
that
guys
into another
first.
episode.
Then we'll get into that later. But I think people will.
Yeah, but what else you guys want to talk about? Keep asking us questions. What else is there?
All right. Well, so we asked about the company. I was gonna ask Angel like basically today's episode is about like why we got into writing. So like Angel,
Yeah.
like what compelled you? What got you into writing, Angel?
Honestly, I just always loved reading. Even as a little kid, like at school, I would just spend most of my time either at the library or just like at recess reading books. And then the one book that actually made me want to like get out and be a writer myself was Percy Jackson.
Mm.
When I finished
Nice.
that first, the original 5 books in the series, I just fell in love completely with the idea of storytelling and world building. And I was like, I have got to try this. And,
Yeah.
I wrote some pretty bad stories that were basically just copies of Percy Jackson.
Mm.
And those are lost now. They were like on some old computer that I had way back then. But that was really just my intro to writing. And I feel like ever since then, I've always had like that itch that I needed to scratch where it's like, okay, I want to tell stories. I want to build worlds and make these characters that people will be able to relate to and fall in love with. And it's always been like that thing that like I say I want to do, but I always put it off, or I'm like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe people won't like it. But then when I ended up coming across the TikTok that Armani and Eric put out saying they were looking for writers, I was like, okay, maybe this is an opportunity that I should take advantage of. And I ended up reaching out and look, here we are now.
Where we are now.
Yep.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I'll add. Yeah, that's amazing. I'll add to that too. Just like talking about you guys. For context, so when I think it was earlier of last year. I think this was Armani's thing. He was like, I really feel like we should have like more like a team as we like expand, and I was like super down for it. And I know at that point we had like our animations starting to show of like showing what the old universe can be in like a visual sense, and that was really cool on TikTok. And then we use those videos and just with cool music and edits as TikTok works to have like a call to action. And what was it? What it had like an original thing. What was the thing, Armani? That
I
it said.
said, I said, remember at the end of Avengers when Tony Stark said, "I'm putting together a team." Well, that's exactly what me and my best friend are doing. And then I added everything else after that.
Hey, it
Yeah,
worked.
yeah, yeah, it was dope. And then we had like the videos and everything and the music, and yeah, that like blew up, and it was like going everywhere. And then yeah, believe me, we had a whole bunch of people contact us, a lot of people. So we really had to, and we gave people the time too. Like if we responded back, and if they responded back, basically if you confirmed like that you're at least talking to us, we scheduled basically a phone call. I
Yeah.
remember when we were getting people and we scheduled. Remember, Armando, we had like 3 phone calls a day for like a month.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was
crazy.
crazy because we wanted to give everyone their time, and
That's hands.
and we had time, and it was like, why not? So we scheduled it, and yeah, we definitely. I remember talking to Angel and just to meet, and then just saying what we're doing, and then but the thing is, we need to see your actual writing, right? That was obviously a big thing about it. Is you want to be a writer? Let's see your writing, and Angel sent a cool, I think it was a little short story. And it was
Yeah.
sci-fi too. It was like a very sci-fi story, which we liked. And it was amazing. We liked the just the worlds that he was able to build. And it wasn't a long story either, and in a short amount of time, but he gets you interested, he gets you wanting to know more, and then we're like, yeah, this is our guy, add him to the team. So yeah.
It's crazy that you say that because I'm gonna be honest, I'm like a professional procrastinator. So I wrote that story like last minute when you were like, "Hey, we need some writing sample from you." I was like, "Okay, let me just cook this up real quick." And I didn't expect much. I was like, "Hey, that was very low effort." And I'm sure they're getting a bunch of people. I was like, I doubt they're gonna call me back or like message me back or anything. So I'm pretty glad you guys
That's
did.
the thing
I think
too.
this is really
A
cool.
lot of people emailed us, and that's it. Like they just emailed us saying that they were interested and they wanted to be a part of the team, but they didn't send any writing samples. And Eric and I were writers just like you guys. We're not better or worse. We're not above you guys or below you. Like we're all like on the same level in regards to our writing. We still needed to have some sort of structure there where this is we're really young in regards to starting the company. It's really fresh, but we still need to see writing samples in order to move forward. There were some people that just emailed us and they just had cool ideas, and even them we were like, "This is dope." Like, but can you send it in like a paragraph? Can you do this? And they never got back to us. So we just kept moving. We just kept reading emails, scheduling meetings, and ended up just being you, Noah, and the other four guys that are now part of the Forbidden Origins.
Who we will be having on as guests in future episodes.
Yeah, we're gonna rotate them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see just hear you guys shoot the shit and just talk.
Yeah,
It'd be
it'd be interesting too, just for like us not being there, like just hearing you guys talk and what you discussed. It'd be
Yeah,
because then yeah, we'd be like listeners for the podcast.
Yeah, you'd be our
exactly.
audience.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I have been in other podcasts before, so it's always weird hearing myself. But I love, just especially if I'm not in it, love to listen to it.
Right.
Yeah, I can't wait for Jay to talk my ear off about Green Lantern. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I saw he posted something today about like Kyle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I was
he's a
like,
Green Lantern stan.
I was like, this fucking guy. No, I like Green Lantern though, but yeah, I can't wait to have him on, everybody else on. It's gonna be fun. Eric Armani, like, so we know Angel's story on how he got into writing. Like, what compelled you guys to get into writing? What was like the thing you're just like, you know what, fuck it, I want to write. I want to do something.
It wasn't even really writing. It was just storytelling in general. When Eric and I met, we were in middle school at our martial arts school. We just automatically clicked in regards to like wanting to make short films. I wanted to make movies and stuff. So every weekend we were at each other's houses with a camera, literally just making random films. Most of them revolved around like fight scenes and martial arts because that's how we met. We both did martial arts for 10 years plus. So a lot of our films were just there, and that's how we expressed our creativity. And then one summer we were playing Soul Calibur, and the idea of the old universe was ignited in our brains. And then from there we just started writing it. At least for me, um, my passion for writing came from just my love of storytelling. I didn't know whether it was going to be I was going to tell stories through writing, I was going to tell stories as an actor, or I was going to tell stories as a director. So I for like 10 years of my life, from middle school, high school, early college, I didn't know how I wanted to tell stories because I was dabbling with acting. I was dabbling with still making short films with Eric. And then when COVID hit, everyone was on lockdown. We pull out the archives, and that's when I realized my love for storytelling. I want to push that out through writing, and that's where Forbidden Origins and the Old Universe came. So that's like the gist of me. I've just My dad always used to put on like wild movies when we were kids. The first movie I remember watching with my dad was Jeepers Creepers, and then he introduced me into like Kingdom of Heaven, Gladiator, uh,
Lord of the Rings.
what else? Titanic. A lot of these grand epic movies with world building in it on a large scale. That's where like my love for storytelling developed. And then, like I said earlier, it went into short films with Eric. Then I went into just creating stories for fun with Eric, and then eventually it turned into writing a book series with my best friend Eric.
Amazing.
Start crying.
I think
Yeah,
that's
How
really
about you,
cool.
Eric?
Yeah, Eric.
yeah. So what's crazy and what's led me to this like part, with Armani too. Before Forbidden Origins, I didn't really consider myself a writer actually. Like Armani said, like when I met Armani, we were both very very creative. And that's like what we would do. It was crazy because like yeah, like when most middle school like guys hang out, they'll like play sports or go to the gym or like party. Me and Armani were making movies. And always like doing creative and cool stuff. And then I always thought that was way more interesting and cool. And it's something that's like you really feel like a part of yourself in. So yeah, I was always inspired creatively with the things I did like that. But even before then, growing up, I was always a huge fan like of basically what you see on TV, right? That was like a story. So basically, when I was growing up, it was like Dragon Ball Z. That was like one of my first things I remember where I watch and I wanted to know what happens next, right? It was, if you guys ever watch Dragon Ball Z, there was like next time on Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, I want to see next time because that was so cool. Like that was like that was like my first dabbling into like conflict and characters and things that just keep going. Because there were other cartoons too. Obviously, you watch as a little kid, but it's like when you watch like like SpongeBob, it's just SpongeBob does like a crazy thing, and then each episode it's different. There's like a name for that where it's like it's a random.
Episodic.
Yeah, it's very episodic, which is fine, but like it didn't really give me the grasp of like an overarching story. And that's when like Dragon Ball Z was one of my first inspirations for that, where it's like, oh, the story continues, right? And that's like
Yeah.
kind of what started that. And then obviously, growing up, it's like movies. My big thing, some movies that I really like the Raimi Spider-Man movies when those came out. Love those. It was like the early Marvel stuff. Was super super cool. Really into that. The Matrix, even though my parents kind of more watched that than me, but I didn't really understand the story. I was too young. But rewatching it now, that was cool. But basically, that's like my first stuff I dabbled into, and then meeting Armani, and coming from martial arts and fighting and conflict, it's like okay, and then we make fight scenes, and then yeah. But the old universe was really cool. That's like the first time we really sat down and like created something that's like more than something we could just record. It's just like this grand epic story that we were making up. It was I remember we were playing Soul Calibur and we gave the characters the names that we want that ended up in the book. And
Oh, that's cool.
and when we created the characters, like because we were playing online with our other friend Jordan. Shout out to Jordan Reynolds. LOL. We were like saying what's happening while we were fighting, like their conflicts and their stories and like who they were, and then we like stopped and we were like, wait, this is cool, like let's write this down. And then so we were at Armani's house and we went into I think his sister moved out at the time, so her room was empty or she just wasn't around as much, and it was a big empty pink room with a computer in it. The pink room.
Yep.
I'll never forget that because once we went into the pink room, no lie, we were probably there for like at least 6 hours. I'm not even exaggerating. I would say at least like 5-6 hours. Just writing everything down about the story of Corin, the story of the Allfather. I think definitely had Zaman at that point. Like those were like the OGs, and then it all kind of branched from there. But even then, like how it worked in the beginning, I would say is that Armani was always the better, easily the better actual writer. Like because when I was writing in school and stuff, I never scored that well. It was kind of hard for me to translate. I always had cool, crazy thoughts, but it was hard for me to like translate those thoughts onto like a piece of paper.
Right.
But Armani was really good at that. He was amazing. I always said he was an amazing writer. And definitely, even before Forbidden Origins, like you should do something with writing. But now that we are doing this, like it's helped me grow in that aspect where it's like, oh, I'm doing all this, like I'm creative too, and I can definitely, just if I put the time into it and talking with you guys and getting really inspired, like that's in one of the short stories in our book coming out, Echoes. I have a story in it called The Maw, and that's really one of the first stories I wrote where I really, it's just all me, and I like put it in there as like a longer form, just completely written on my own.
Yeah.
And I was like, it took me a long time too, because I had that doubt of like, I don't know if I'm such a good writer, but I kind of just ignored it at this point. Like, well, you basically wrote a book with Armani, write the story. So yeah, because
Yeah.
with book one too, like, Armani did most of the writing, but obviously like the story components, like we would collaborate on, and I would just, talk to Armani back and forth. This should happen. This should happen. This should happen, and then Armani put it down. But I think even for book two, like I want to be more contributing in the writing and my writing journey. So it's been a really cool journey for me just to like expand on what I can do. So yeah.
Yay! Yeah, that's like how we collaborate, at least for book one. I would send Eric like 2 or 3 chapters, and then he would read them, and then he would call me, and we would read it through it, and he would tell me things to add, like, okay, what if they did this? What if they did that? And then we'd be like, yeah, that's dope. Let's do it like this. Let's do it like that. So that's how we collaborated for book one, but for book two, and so on. Since Eric, he just said he pushed past that doubt that he wasn't a good writer, which is crazy because most Eric, it's wild because Eric's like the type of person when he gets his mind on something, he like learns it immediately. Like he was the one that was editing all the short films we made when we were younger. He was the one that was learning fucking Final Cut and Adobe Premiere Pro when we were like 9 years old. Like he was
Yeah.
he was the one doing it. So it's crazy to hear him say he had doubt with writing because he's the type of person that when he learns something, he learns it immediately.
Right.
Daywalker,
Very similar.
but he the collaborative like teamwork we have is something that wouldn't, if that wasn't there, this wouldn't be possible because
For sure.
I wouldn't have put the old universe out if I wasn't with Eric. Like if me and Eric weren't friends, the old universe wouldn't be a thing. Because ask if you can ask Eric himself, like whenever we would talk about the old universe growing up, or just writing in general, or just stories, I would come up with him with an idea. But if he wasn't really down for it, I wouldn't do it because that was my own sense of fear. Like, I know, like I don't think I can do this by myself. So thank you, Eric, for saying I'm an amazing writer, but the company wouldn't be a company without you. We're
Yeah. Yeah. Me and I just start crying the rest of the podcast.
gonna start crying. We're gonna start crying on the fucking podcast. Jesus. But let's all turn our heads and eyes to Noah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Noah.
Noah, what what got you into writing?
Oh, um, apparently, even as a little kid, I always like wrote something, like would just like write something. I guess when I was in kindergarten, I wrote a story about a magic rock that went on adventures.
That's awesome. I need to
What?
read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
don't
still
know.
have
It's
it?
I have no clue. My mom probably has a stash somewhere. Um, but what really got me into like just storytelling also was Harry Potter. I started reading that in first grade. I barely understood it, but like I grasped the story, but like some little details I wasn't really too in, like, 'cause, I'm in first grade. But everything else, like Star Wars, got me into world storytelling. Also, Lord of the Rings. Um, what else? Just this anime called Robotech was like really influential on what I do. Um, but I've always, like I said, I've always written. I've always had someone to work with. Not always, but like okay. So I remember in elementary school, I had my friend Jacob, my best friend back then, Jacob. We were working on a card game. I don't know why we were so interested in making a card game, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh. And we both created a armored suit called Cyclopser. Basically, it was just a bunch of triangles, like triangles for arms for like the body, and yeah, it was a Cyclopser suit, and it was kind of like Iron Man mixed with like the armor from Halo. And if you put it on, you could be like a super soldier basically. And I started writing little stories around that. Um, but my main thing is like comics, superheroes, all that. My dad, of course, got me into that. And since I want to say my freshman year, I've been working on a story called Manifest, which is about superheroes. And that's actually what I submitted to Armani and Eric to get me to where I am today with them. So
Yep, I remember that.
yeah, and it's funny how.
That's another,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go.
No, that was my bad. No, that was my bad. My bad.
Okay. It's funny how Angel said he's like a professional procrastinator. What I did when I submitted the story, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna send them this. I haven't made any edits since 2017 of this particular paper. Hopefully they'll accept it. And then like 2 days, a day later, hey no, we like what you did. We want to send you the contract. You know, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is happening. But like, I definitely have edits I'm going to make to that initial story, which is what I'm going to use. But yeah,
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how we all like have that. All this came from like when we were kids, you know. So
yeah,
it's really interesting that we held on to that. Like we held on to our inner child. Um, I feel like that's like where the best stories come from because kids, even though they're kids, their imaginations are so broad and wild and fun to listen to when they start telling you their random stories throughout their day. And it's nice that us as adults and especially as adult males and like a society like ours, we're able to hold on to that and use that creativity to do what we want. We all have jobs and we all have the stress of life throughout the day, but we're able to come together and enjoy telling stories and just messing around and literally living a fantasy, but trying to live off it at the same time. It's amazing. I love it. It's fun.
Yep. I think it's really
Yeah, that's
important to
cool.
try to keep that childlike imagination and sense of wonder. I feel like that's really helpful when coming up with
Yeah.
all these stories.
Yeah, don't let yourself be limited by like, you know, what you're going through in life. I know everyone has like their journey and it can be hard. I get that. But you know, try not to let your spirit of creativity get hindered by that, you know. Whatever and some people that's like an outlet too. Like they might be going through something that's really hard, but what kind of brings them peace is they can still express themselves in a way that they want to. And I think that's really important to like, especially as especially in like, yeah, like Armani was saying, like the society we're in now, you know, it's weird. I have this outlook where it's just, you know, sometimes it's not going to get easier as we grow up, but I think doing this is kind of what keeps us, you know, in a really cool mindset of just like we can do what we want and express it still. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's super cool too that Noah, you and Angel were all kind of also read like that series. Like you guys read the children's book series that was like really big at that time, the Harry Potter and the what was it, Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, it's crazy, and this is another thing too. What this like made me feel about being writing is that it's like I do read books, but I felt like I didn't read enough. But and that can always change. Like
I didn't read. I didn't read as a child. Like I didn't read as a child. No, I watched movies. I did
Yeah,
not read at
Armani actually
all.
doesn't know how to read.
Exactly.
it's
I
all
thought you
vibes.
read the Armani. I thought you read the Percy Jackson books.
Nope. I never read the Percy Jackson books.
What?
Oh wow!
Highly
Nope.
recommend.
It was a ripoff of
Never
Harry
read.
Potter, anyways, though, so it's not a big deal.
What?
I never read.
there
I
we go.
never
Insane
read the
take.
Percy Jackson books or the Harry Potter books. The only books that I read, just because this is like one of my favorite lores is the Lord of the Ring books, but I didn't read the Percy
Classic.
Jackson book or the Harry Potter books.
I
Yeah, I can
read
tell you're more of a film guy.
the second Harry
Yes.
Potter book because that was my favorite Harry Potter. I love the Harry Potter movies. That was probably a good thing that got
Oh,
used as story.
same.
But the second movie was so crazy to me. Like growing up with like the giant snake at the end,
Yeah,
the basilisk. I was like, this is nuts. And I actually read the second book just to like
I
relive it.
I think that's still my favorite movie to this day, the second one.
Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, amazing.
I will. This
I
is so
think
funny. I will mention one book that I did actually like. That's the thing though too. Like, and this is like the magic of writings and books. Like when you find a book that you're actually like really into, it's better than a movie. Like I
Oh
believe
yeah.
that. I believe that. Like if it's a
I know what book he's gonna say. I know what book he's gonna say.
Predict them,
you
predict
guys
them. What
have
is it?
no
What is it?
idea. It's just yeah, you can't and it was a
I
very
know it.
it's a very successful book. It actually had a movie adaptation too. But
Wait, wait,
I know
wait.
exactly
Let
what
our
he's
money
gonna
guess.
say.
I was I was doing summer reading. I had to do, you know, this is in school too, where you had to like read a book.
yeah.
And I did summer reading and they let you pick. And I was like, there was this title that caught my eye. I'm like, this looks cool. and the title of the book was
Where's Lincoln?
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
That's a good book. That is a good book. I agree.
But yeah, exactly. Like it's ridiculous, but if you read it, it is amazing because it's almost like a biography of like Abraham Lincoln, except there's vampires. And it like shows how he basically needs to become president to like stop the vampires. It sounds so crazy, but like whoever wrote it, it was so good. Like I was like I was like so into that book. Like the way he wrote it and how you could visualize it, it was amazing. And then I didn't think just thought it was like, this crazy book that I really liked. And then they did the movie. They did the movie about it, which was even crazier. And the movie was horrible, like not even close. It didn't even.
Yeah, the movie was bad.
It didn't even touch because also the book was like pretty extensive, and the movie was like super short.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the book is crazy. Like you could tell the author did a lot of research to fit the vampires into his life, and then coupled on that, they have like old school like drawings and pictures peppered in there, and some of them I'm just like, that is actually nightmare fuel. Like that is like pretty sick. Like you wouldn't think it would work, but it does, and it's so good.
Yeah, like he kind of does that thing we were talking about, like in Transformers, where he blends it with like his history, which is like what makes it interesting too.
Yeah.
Right. I love that type of stuff.
This one thing, if I remember correctly, so he takes the lore seriously of vampires and how they're originally from Europe, right? Like vampires are from Europe, but they were getting persecuted in Europe and like hunted down, and they were going to America, like when people were settling in America, kind of like how some people might go to America, and then but they still needed to feed, right? And so they like entrenched themselves in society, and they realized like in pre-Civil War America, they're like, oh, there's a class of people that are that aren't even seen as like, a human, and that obviously in our history, that's like black people who were brought here as slaves, right? And so they took advantage of that and was like, we're gonna go into the South where it's more accepted, and we're gonna just make these African American people disappear, and no one would care. And it fits so perfectly. It was crazy.
Yeah, the plantations were basically blood farms.
Yeah, it was nuts.
I gotta check out this book. This sounds awesome.
Shout out to Seth Graham Smith. That's the author.
Is that who wrote it?
Oh, yeah, okay. Dude, it's crazy because they start the Civil War just to keep the slaves. Like they have like don't they have like a vampire politician?
Yes, something like that. And I think John Wilkes Booth was a vampire.
Yes, he was.
Oh,
yeah, he was.
And that's why he was like mad, and then and then he like came after Lincoln.
Yeah. It's mad, but it works, man. It works so well.
The ending is crazy too. I can't even say it. I don't want to say it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say
it. No, because I actually want to read this book now.
It's so crazy.
Eric, that book inspired me heavily with like certain things that I read about. Like the werewolf in Vietnam, the American werewolf in Vietnam, that was like a retroactive inspiration of that. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
Peppering in supernatural things in with actual history.
Yeah. I will say though, I know we're gushing, but he also did another book, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and that book was boring. I didn't like it.
Yeah, well, Pride and Prejudice is boring anyway, so.
Yeah, because he did the same thing. He wrote it like Pride and Prejudice, and then but just added zombies into it. And I'm like, okay, this is dumb. But that's just
hilarious.
Like a fan fiction.
I love Pride and Prejudice. Like I love that movie.
I think the movie. I need to see the movie, but I don't know about the book.
Like I write and create heavy sci-fi fantasy stuff, but I'm a sucker for like period pieces in regards to like Pride and Prejudice stuff like that. I love those.
That's actually really cool. I feel like having different genres like that you really like, it could really help expand your style. Like even if you're only writing sci-fi, if you still like other stuff, it'll make your writing better.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you pull from other genres, you pull from other mediums.
I mean,
in order to help build.
Jordan Peele, he pulls a lot of anime into his films.
Yeah.
And they're all horror movies. You wouldn't think that would be inspirations, but he uses it. So
I've actually never seen a Jordan Peele movie.
I'll show you. I swear to God.
I've heard nothing but great things, but I've never seen any of them.
Which one should we watch?
Nope.
Nope. You know what? I haven't seen that one.
It's
I've
good.
seen Get
I've
Out.
seen Nope. I saw it. It's very good.
Nope is very, very good.
Is it better than Get Out?
Honestly, Jordan
No,
Peele
Get
has
Out.
nothing but bangers. Um,
Yeah,
so
That's what
yeah,
I'm.
this was okay.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
This was okay.
yeah, he's gonna be working with Hideo Kojima on I think the next not Death Stranding, but they're working on a video game together, and I feel like the
Oh,
sheer
I did
creative
hear about this.
power, yeah, the sheer creative power between the two of them is like insane. So it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
I
it's gonna
can't
be
wait.
crazy.
Yeah,
It's,
that's definitely a day
it's
one
so
cop.
crazy, like that he's from Key and Peele.
Yeah,
Like then
right.
that's like comedy, which was
Right?
really funny and really creative too.
And you know what's funny? If you go back and rewatch Key and Peele, you could definitely tell which episodes are the ones he's written because they're all like parodies of like scary shit, and it's really really good.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Did you see
Yeah.
that
No.
Key and Peele skit where they see each other with the hat, and then okay, his hat has the sticker. Oh, my hat's still in the bag, and
I've
then
seen
my
that
hat's
one.
still in the case, and he has a case on his head. That's so funny. Yeah, Key and Peele is funny. You know who watched a lot of that, Armani? Who showed us that is David Moody.
Yeah, David was like into that shit. I remember that.
Key and Peele
Yeah.
ruled my
But
high
my
school.
Kings, Noah, Angel, Eric, I have to go.
Okay, thank you so much for
I'm
coming on.
excited. I'm excited for the rest of the episodes. I'm gonna listen to this one when it's ready. Keep the convo going. It's gonna be a crazy year for Forbidden Origins. Look, it's only February. We already got a new book coming out. Just started a podcast with two dope ass creatives, Angel and Noah.
Make me blush.
But with that said, I'm
Right.
turning the mic off and I'll be out for the rest of the night. So you guys continue the conversation. Text me when the
What's ready?
podcast is done. And yeah, we can keep
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, we'll let you know, man.
All right, peace out, guys.
Peace out, peace out.
All right.
Later.
See ya.
Bye.
That was Armani, my best friend and co-founder of Forbidden Origins. Yeah, so guess it's just us now, and yeah, we could keep talking. I'm curious, and I've seen this happen in podcasts, and just to see what's our time at? How long have we been going so far?
47 minutes.
Oh,
47.
not
Not
bad.
bad.
I think we could hit at least an hour, and then
Oh,
whatever you want to,
definitely.
Yeah, I'm good.
whatever the hosts want to do. It's your ship to steer. So, but yeah, I knew we were just talking about writing and things that inspired us. Yeah, anime. You were talking about anime, Noah. Yeah, that is a big thing for me, as well, because it's my first dabble into like overarching stories that just, like I said earlier, that just continue, and you always want to know, what happens. Another big anime, obviously Dragon Ball Z is my first one, so it's near and dear to my heart. And this is gonna be hilarious, but I feel like it's a rite of passage if you're Hispanic to like Dragon Ball Z.
Right. I've never actually seen it, but like my cousins and like uncles even.
Yeah, you
Like
definitely
they
have
love
like
it.
a cousin. Come on.
Yeah.
What about you, Noah? Were you Dragon Ball guy or?
I really didn't get into Dragon Ball until high school because I don't know, my dad didn't want me watching it, even though I watched like Predator at 4, but whatever.
Nice.
Make
I
Yeah,
believe
traditions.
it.
oh, I mean, I don't know, like anime has always been a part of my life, but then it hasn't. So, like for
I'm
example,
the same way.
yeah. So for example, I grew up on like 80s anime, so like Robotech, um,
That's cool.
stuff from the 90s, Cowboy Bebop, but like Vampire Hunter D is also a pretty big influence on me too. But like I haven't like really kept up with a lot of modern anime. For example, was really into Attack on Titan, but like that was because it was on
Oh, that was
Netflix.
so good.
So like I
Oh,
missed
yeah.
out on other, like I missed out on One Piece. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Watching it now, I think it's pretty cool. I've always respected anime as a medium, but like I was never the biggest guy. But now I'm starting to get more into it, and like I always like talk shit about it, but that's because I'm just like fucking around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I respect it heavily because there's a lot of cool shit in there. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
There really
Neon
is.
Genesis Evangelion. That one is so good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, there's like, I say anime is a big inspiration, but I honestly haven't even watched that much, and I definitely feel like I could watch more. Like, I always hear good stuff about Cowboy Bebop. Haven't seen it. Haven't seen Neon Genesis. I could count on like one hand, I think, the like series I've like stuck with, and obviously Dragon Ball. A big one that was for me, and I didn't even really watch fully until the pandemic, was Naruto. really good. That was a big one for me because that was kind of more into like it was a definitely a deeper version of like Dragon Ball. It was more into like the characters and like what they've been through and very a lot obviously very traumatic. Sometimes it gets really sappy, but it's so good. I love that stuff. I just like I'd rather know more about a character than know not
Yeah.
have it nothing at all, and then they're
Yeah.
kind of more bland. Even if it gets a little, and yeah, anime gets very extra in that sense. Attack on Titan. I mean, yeah, I think everyone
Amazing.
got blown away by that.
Yeah.
That was the first anime where when I caught up to like wherever the episodes ended, I literally had to read that was the first anime where I read the manga like after the fact to find out like, okay, I need to know like what the heck is going on. And then I was caught up at the point where I was waiting for all the with for people who don't know, a lot of anime is adapted from the manga first.
Yeah.
So first the manga comes out, and then the anime gets animated later, and then manga chapters come out either usually like weekly or monthly. So I was waiting every week. I think Attack on Titan was monthly, so waited every month for the next chapter. That was such a good one. That one really drew me in, and that was just like such a crazy story. For people who are into that, there's like some debate about the endings, but I thought the ending was good. I liked it.
That's what I've heard. I'm still not caught up. I started season 3 and then I just never kept watching it. But the first 2 seasons were amazing.
No,
Yeah.
season 3 is really good too, especially towards the end. You got to finish season 3. I'm
Yeah,
saying
that's
if
what I've
you're
heard.
you got to finish season 3, and then
I
season 4 is like the whole crazy. Yeah, it's wow.
Yeah, but I did hear people like debating on the ending. Some people hated it, some people liked it. I guess
Yeah,
that's
I
most
mean,
things.
yeah, there was like it's not, and this happens even in a lot of other shows too, and even movies. That's like a hard thing too, right? Like as a storyteller, is how to nail the ending,
Yeah.
right? It's either too much or too little, or it's hard to end your story. And I liked what Attack on Titan did. It did just feel a little rushed, I would say, like to
Oh,
tie
okay.
everything up. But a lot of things end like that, but then there was stuff that happens like before the ending, like right before the ending, where it's like, oh, this is crazy. But then it kind of gets. I'm not trying to spoil it too much, but then it kind of gets like it didn't really matter at the end, which happens in a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
other stories too.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Unfortunately.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is there any genre that you guys want to write that you haven't written about yet that you want to delve into?
Angel, you want to go first?
Honestly, I want to write a western so bad.
I'm down
That
to
would
do
be
Like
that.
sick.
just
Yeah.
like a gang of outlaws,
Uh-huh.
that type of stuff. I just think it's so cool. And I've never tried before. I've never even read anything in that genre, but I just think that like specific like location of like the old west and like revolvers and horses and all that, it's just so cool.
I can give you an idea for that, Angel, if you want it.
Sure, slide it.
Are you Hispanic? You're Hispanic, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, look up the Mexican Apache Wars.
I got you.
Look that up. It was a bloody, disgusting time, and I think you'll enjoy maybe writing something about it. Because to this day, I think like a lot of Mexicans, like especially around the Texas area and Mexico itself, they try to kind of sweep that under the rug, but both sides
Right.
got dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think you'll enjoy writing something about that.
That's an interesting. Well, first, Angel, that's so cool. Yeah, westerns are amazing. I would
Yeah.
love to see you do something like that. I was thinking at first, like, but this was just like Forbidden Origins. Thought like, oh, it could fit in the old universe as like maybe one of the planets that has more of a western theme. But I do understand too on the side, like if you really want to be like a true western, like have like be somewhere in America or whatever, and
Yeah.
have real horses and guns on Earth, like actual Western. That's completely fine. I mean, I would love to see you. If that's something you really want to do, you should definitely do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also just the type of person though where like I can easily adapt to things, so I would be so down to make it a space western. That'd be so
Space
sick.
Western, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we could definitely talk more about it. But yeah, that's cool. And then Noah, with just like curiosity, I really know about this. what was the Mexican Apache Wars? Was that like when did that take place? Was this like before America was like a thing? I've heard the name before, but I didn't know actually the history of it. I like historical stuff.
Yeah, so from what I read, it happened mostly in Texas and like in northern Mexico, where it was basically a three-way war between Americans, Mexicans, and Apache, and
Mm.
it was just the three groups just going at it. Like, let me put it to you this way: um, the Mexican government paid per scalp for Apaches, and
God.
sometimes Americans they would go to Mexican towns, kill the Mexicans, scalp them, and then sell them.
Oh my god.
Not even like Apache
So wait,
scalps
Americans killed the Mexicans and they sold the Mexican scalps?
to the Mexican government, saying they
Oh,
were
because
Apache scalps.
you don't know. It's a
Yeah,
head.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like any scalp is like okay.
yeah, shit like that.
So
Massacres
the
on both
Mex
sides. All three sides massacred each other, basically rape, all that.
Jeez. So the Mexican government didn't care who was giving them the scalps. They just wanted scalps as like a
Yeah, and
proof
they
that like
also didn't know that they couldn't prove that they were Apache.
Well, yeah, they were lying. They're just like,
Yeah,
here, look, we killed a bunch of them.
exactly.
yeah, no, I was just thinking like if it was if it was a Mexican government like incentive, they don't care that an American person came to
No, no,
them
they
with
didn't care.
scalps.
They didn't care.
They're like, okay, yeah, they're like, all right, well, you got scalps. Here's some money.
Yeah,
And
Well, I'm pretty sure they
I'm
just wanted the
assuming,
land, right?
yeah, because I'm assuming Mexico did that program to like
yeah,
it must have been in like a Mexican land. And like, we need these guys out of here.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think this was before, during, and after the Civil War.
Okay.
Jeez.
So there was different eras. So of course you had like Texas was Mexico, and then Texas became Texas, and then you had the aftermath. Um, but yeah, it got dirty, dude. Like it was like, damn, I didn't know that. Like they went down like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a crazy point in time. It's just like, like they're just settling things on the East Coast, like just barely making it like a society. But then there's people who are like, well, screw that. I want to go out west. That's not even explored. And then now you're in like these towns where like, there probably isn't a cop. You could probably, or there is cops, but you could get away with murder pretty easily. And, people get robbed all the time, or, you're in native land and, then Native Americans might beef with you and kill you. It's
Yeah.
so crazy. So crazy that people were like, let's do that. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
Insane. But it does make for good stories.
Yes,
it
it does.
A
does.
good
Yes, it does.
location
Yeah,
for
that's
stories.
that's like isn't that like one of the number one shows right now, right? It's not I don't think it's like a Western, but Yellowstone. And
Yeah.
then Yellowstone
Oh,
but then
right.
Yellowstone has like a spin-off that's super popular too that is like actually in Western times. It's like 1883 or something.
I
Oh,
think
really?
that's
I've
why
never
like the
heard of this.
Mandalorian, got so big because initially they basically
Yeah.
built it as a western.
Yeah, that's like
Oh,
a
okay.
space Western, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah, cool stuff. For me, I always had a thought which would be cool. It's definitely something down the line. I would love to do like a political thriller. Something where
Ooh.
like something I've always had this thought of like I had this scenario where it might sound basic, but I think it's just how you present it. It's like I have a story of where this guy really wants to make a change and was always like super dedicated and always wanted to like change what's happening in like the US and so he actually ends up running for Congress and he's like super popular and he wins. Um, but he kept going, right? He didn't stop just because he won Congress. He kept wanting to change, what was going on, and he keeps digging basically because now he's part of Congress and he's trying to like pass these laws to really make it. I think I have it where he wanted to do these laws where it actually helped people, but even people who were interested, they all voted it down. And he's like, "Why did you guys vote this down? I thought this was like we were going to change, we were going to do better." And no one could give him a straight answer. And he knew like, okay, something's up. And then that's when he gets into the world of like, most of America and Congress is influenced by other forces, and he gets too deep, and then now they're basically trying to like hunt him down. And
Damn.
that's like kind of, yeah, some crazy political thriller. I love like political thriller, like even but with action in it too, and it doesn't have to be like crazy action. I like shows like Jack Reacher, but that was more like CIA stuff. But like Designated Survivor was super crazy. You guys watch that
Oh
show?
yeah.
I might get
Love
on
that
No,
shit.
I've heard about it and I've seen like trailers and stuff, and it looks
Yeah.
really cool.
It's good. But then I think Netflix took over for like the last season and it got a little crazy. But I don't
Yeah.
think you can have a show that long about this guy who is the president, and then because then they have to just keep making the scenarios crazier and crazier, and then it gets a little
Right.
unbelievable. And I obviously the political thriller would kind of be a little have like fiction, well, obviously fiction, but like it would get a little crazy. But I don't want it to get like I don't want the reveal of like the bad guy to be like this super evil guy who controls like 30 governments with like
Oh,
one hand.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You want it more
No,
grounded in
I
like
want it to
real
feel
life.
like kind of real, but it's like what
Yeah.
happens if you dig too deep, and it's not just like one bad guy. It's like all the forces that are influencing
Like
politics.
Right.
like corporate lobbyists and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it gets like deeper of like, okay, they're not just like obviously sending money. They're threatening people. They're blackmailing people. They're trafficking. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff to keep America where they want it to be.
Assassinations and all that.
Yeah, and I think I had it where he doesn't even really beat them. He just tries to survive. That's what it turns into because he got too deep.
Damn.
Because you can't beat them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's kind of the scary part about it.
I
And
would
then he
love
just
to read that.
survives. Yeah, I don't know. This is something I'm developing, but yeah, I don't know. I always had that thought in my head.
No,
Really
that's
cool.
definitely something I would not mind reading like down the line from you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I
like
think
also like I always thought too like, okay, well, why does it have to be a guy? It can be a girl. But then I'm also thinking like, well, I'm a guy. I don't know. Point of view of a
right.
man.
Sometimes it's just easier to write what you know.
Yeah, I don't want to But yeah, that's kind of what we're like Western political thriller. What about you, Noah? What would you want to write other than like sci-fi military?
So when the last season of Game of Thrones came out, it pissed me off. So I decided to take a gander at writing fantasy, and I have an idea. It's under the working title Dawn Guard. Basically, it's so I kind of do own like the Warhammer way of doing things, where for Warhammer Fantasy they had like fantasy versions of like real life empires and like real world culture,
Right.
and I'm kind of going the same route where it's like I have like fantasy Europe, and then across the ocean you have fantasy America, and then across the sea you down south you have fantasy Africa, and then to the east you have fantasy like Asia. And I basically wrote it that the most advanced civilization are the Aztecs,
Oh, okay.
and they have like plasma bows, they have like golden armor, green armor. All their soldiers are like basically an army of Captain Americas or Black Panthers, because there's like an incident in like their past where they had to like create this like I guess serum or this remedy to fight a stronger opponent, and now they decide to stick with it. And the main character, he's basically half, I guess you could say, fantasy European and half Aztec. He's basically like the first Mexican. And
Yeah.
and his mother is the queen of the Rhinelands. It's like the name of this country within fantasy Europe. And then his dad is the emperor of the Aztecs.
Oh, that's cool.
So like he kind of goes every summer back and forth. And yeah, basically the first story arc, I'm not going to give too much away. The first story arc is called The War of the Half-Blood Kings.
That
And
sounds sick.
it's basically a war between half brothers, between him and his brother. And
Oh,
that's
that's
say.
cool.
Yeah. So,
Family feuds are always interesting to read about too.
and it's gonna be. I'm not giving away too much here, but all I'm gonna say is that it does tie into my superhero one.
Yeah, I was about to ask that because I was saying like some of this stuff you're mentioning reminds me of like some of the stuff you've talked about for Manifest.
Mm-hmm. It's
So that's really cool.
That's all I'm gonna say is that it does tie in somehow, some way. You'll see how. But yeah.
All right, that's really cool. I love connecting universes like that where it's like different stories that may not even have much in common, but you manage to link them together and it's like, oh wow, that was the same universe the whole time.
Yeah, I've always liked the idea of the multiverse, even before I got like mainstream with Marvel and DC the past couple of years.
Uh-huh.
I've always loved the idea of the multiverse. Like I wonder if there's like what am I doing in like Earth like 6005? You know what I'm saying? Like what like
Right?
that's always
Yeah, I'm
tickled
the
my
same
brain.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Eric, of the multiverse? Like that concept?
Oh yeah, that's always a fun thing. I mean, eventually we'll kind of have our own multiverse with, not the old universe is its own universe, but we'll expand it into other things too. But it can still be connected in that multiverse sense, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I love it, and it's funny that it's mainstream now. Even though with Marvel and DC, they've had their multiverses since like I know they did a big multiverse in DC in like the 80s,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then Marvel, I think probably around the same time, maybe even earlier, with like if you count all the stuff in the 70s that they did. Um, but yeah, no, it's cool that it's like now a thing in like the bigger culture, and people are like, oh yeah, that's cool, like the multiverse of like what's happening. Um, because yeah, like if you're a comic reader, even like into like stories, multiverse has always been a thing, and
Yeah.
it is a cool concept. Um, the pros, I guess the cons of it though that some people talk about too is like, and it depends on how you do them, right? They'll be like, why would I care about this character if there's like almost the same version in another universe? And so,
Right.
does it really matter if they're dead or not, or whatever they go through? I can look or see about the other version. But I don't think that's like a big thing. Yeah, it's just it's cool that it's like getting into that, like to see different versions of it. The thing that really defines it is like if you have a character, if you do a multiverse version of that character, it needs, there needs to be a distinction of that really hits the point of this is from another universe. That's why I think
Right.
Spider-Verse is so successful, because each Spider-Man is so, they have this, they're all Spider-Man, but there's like they're all Spider-Man from like a different point of view and a different background, which is really
Yeah.
cool. And like how their Spider-Man became to be. I think Spider-Verse is the best version
Yeah.
of the multiverse kind of thing going on. And because it's so crazy too, I think it works better like as an animated thing versus like live action, because it I don't know, it feels like it's a little easier to convey, like because then you can also change art styles, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, how they
and
did
that's
that.
what makes it. That's what really hits it too, and that's why it was so cool in comics too, right? Because then you'll have
Yeah.
like a completely different art version of Batman, or a completely different look for thing, and it's not just a film like change costume or change the actor, like maybe
Yeah.
CGI a bit. Maybe when CGI gets a little more crazy, we can see cooler stuff. But I think the animated really is really good with like the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
The one like negative drawback in my opinion about the multiverse becoming a mainstream concept is that they did it too fast, too hard. I feel like the past
Oh
couple of
yeah, I
years,
agree.
like they keep smacking people over the head with it, and it's like, dude, you have to this kind of stuff. Like the average watcher, like comic fans are used to that. We're used to
Mhm.
the multiverse as a concept. We know what's going on, but your average like watcher, they're gonna be like, what? Like, I think they understand like the surface level, but you see arguments online all the time, like, oh, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Oh, like, why did that character do that? It's like, dude, it's not the same version. You know,
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
they don't get it. They don't get it's not a different.
yeah, like nuance
Eh,
is lost on people when it comes to the multiverse. Sometimes I feel like
Right.
yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely.
And it's funny, by the way. Speaking of the multiverse, I'm not trying to give too much away, but Angel, you probably seen in the chat that we're setting up long term for a crossover between one of my characters and one of Eric and Armani's characters.
Yeah, I did see that. That looks sick. That drawing that Armani did was awesome.
Yeah, and basically we figured that both characters have like the semi similar origins,
Uh-huh.
and we're gonna set it up that they're basically doppelgangers from different universes.
Oh, that's actually so cool.
So that's kind of been on my mind lately, just the multiverse and how that can work and stuff. So I think people are gonna like what we do with that. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, yeah. We got a lot of things cooking, a lot of things that we're going to keep developing, and this is a part of it. This is a part of like what we're working on, and we just hope that whoever listens or reads or watches what we do, that you enjoy, and you join us on our journey. It's been really cool just to like have people to talk about this stuff with. And we all like have different ideas and perspectives on it. It's really really cool. Like, don't get me wrong, this is like, I love this stuff, and yeah, thanks for having me, Armani, on as your first guest. I think it's been a fun first podcast. just talking about like what we're doing. It was a really good intro one, I think. I think we did a lot of really cool stuff. But I know I'm not the host, but I don't know. What do you think, guys? Has it been like a good first episode?
I think so. What time are we at, Noah?
110. We're at an hour and 10 minutes.
I think that's a good length
Yeah, I
for
feel
a
like it
first
is too.
intro episode.
I think everyone had a good time. I think we did a good job.
Yeah.
I hope people enjoy. I hope people listen. But yeah, definitely. I'm thinking weekly, right? We're going to be doing like every Thursday.
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
Yeah. I think weekly can definitely work. Depending on when this comes out, we can discuss like how many need to be. We'll talk more about it. But
Yeah, we
when
got
this
to
comes
discuss
out,
stuff.
when this comes out, I think we'll have a weekly establishment, and it'll be really fun. But I just want to say thank you, Noah, and thank you, Angel, for having me and Armani on. This was really cool. You guys are Forbidden Radio, a part of the Forbidden Origins universe, or what would we even call it? The Forbidden Origins family. We'll have to think about that too. The Forbidden Origins network.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, no, check us all out. I mean, I'm just going to say shout out to Forbidden Origins. You'll find out everything we're doing just by going to forbiddenorigins.com. We're everywhere. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and even LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn page as well. So,
Nice.
trying to network, at Forbidden Origins. We are everywhere. So yeah, check us out. Check out this podcast. On all the audio. We'll definitely be on Apple and Spotify, and I believe YouTube. We'll be on YouTube, and we'll have the Forbidden Origins YouTube channel, which has a whole bunch of animations as well. And then, of course, our first story, The Old Universe, out now on Amazon, and we have Echoes of the Old Universe coming out very soon this month, which will also be on Amazon and TikTok Shop as well. That's the stories that we have Angel and Noah a part of. So yeah, check out everything Forbidden Origins, listen to Forbidden Radio, and let your friends know, because we out here.
Wow, what a great outro by our guest.
I was gonna say something, but I guess that's the outro we're gonna go with. Thank you guys for
Oh no,
joining
you
us.
could go ahead.
Okay. Thank you guys for joining us on episode 1 of Forbidden Radio. I can't wait to see what this becomes. And honestly, thank you for listening, and everyone have a great day. Peace out.